Hey there, welcome. Glad you found me. Today's subject is the clay bar. I'm going to give a quick tutorial on what the clay bar is, how you use it, and why you would want to use it. What is a clay bar? The clay bar is literally a type of clay. It comes in many colors, many versions. Virtually every car care manufacturer makes a form of a clay bar. What is its intended use? It is intended to decontaminate your car paint. What does that even mean? Well, in the world, there's this stuff called pollution. It's dirt particles that float around everywhere in the world. It'll settle on your car paint. It gets dirty. You wash your car to remove that dirt. You may notice that your car paint begins to feel progressively more and more rough down the road. That is the pollutants that start sticking to your car paint. It's often referred to as bonded contaminants. So I will add that not all contaminants or air pollution is created equal. There are endless ways in which air pollution is created, from brake dust from your brakes to the emissions that come out your exhaust pipe to just basic dirt that's floating around in the air. Point is that some of those particles will begin to permanently attach to your car paint and become a permanent fixture to it. That is unwanted. You know why it's unwanted? Because it will diminish the appearance of your car, for one. Your paint will now become audible. And what do I mean by that? Is we don't want audio to our car paint, meaning car paint should be seen, not heard. So for example, you hear that? That's what I mean is car paint should not be heard. That tells me there's some unwanted things stuck to my car. My car has been freshly washed, but yet there's still some particles that are stuck to the car paint. Well, enter the world of clay bars, decontaminating bars, detailing clay. They're called many things. This is how you remove, or one of the ways in which you can remove those paint contaminants. You bust out what is called a clay lube. Now there's endless debates as to what is the best clay lube, just like there is endless debates as to what is the best clay bar. That's not the intention of this video. What you do on a freshly washed car is you spray the clay lube. Now this happens to be Mother's Instant Detailer. That's what they sell with their clay bar kit. So yes, you can get a kit that will be the remedy for your problem of paint that you can hear. We don't want paint that we can hear. So now that you've sprayed some clay lube, you take your clay bar and you mold it into a shape that feels good in your hand. And you proceed to rub it back and forth on your paint. Now, if you're a beginner, just know that this will be very disturbing for you. You know why? Because you're gonna feel through the sense of your hearing that you are scratching the crap out of your car paint. Well, just know that, okay, yes, you're gonna do a little bit of scratching, but not all scratches are created equal. Everything in life comes with trade-offs. So I just know in literally taking a poll out in the world that the general consensus is that yes, I like the desired end result. Because after you're done decontaminating your paint will feel silky smooth. You'll no longer be able to hear it. And once you've decontaminated it, you follow it up with a wax or a sealant. And now when you feel your paint, you're literally gonna wanna wet yourself because it's gonna feel so silky smooth. You're gonna be like, damn, how come I didn't discover this stuff before? Or damn, how come I didn't do it before? So that's one of the goals of this video is to get you off the fence, get yourself a clay bar, some form or fashion, and to clay bar your car, wax it, and you will be amazed at the silky results that you will be able to get. But let's discuss the scratching part, because not all scratching is created equal. Really, in most cases, what's gonna happen is it will mar the finish. Now, marring, scratching, this is where we can, is it tomatoes versus tomatoes? It's gonna do some stuff that's unwanted. But let me add this disclaimer. It's really gonna be determined on how excessive the buildup of those pollutants are on your car paint. And what are the pollutants that you're removing? For example, it may be paint overspray that you're trying to remove. Not all paint is created equal. Like everything else in the world, nothing is created equal. So depending upon how many times you have to rub back and forth, how much pressure you apply, and by the way, once again, endless debate. Don't apply much pressure, apply a lot of pressure. You decide. The point is the more pressure you apply, the more times you have to rub back and forth, the more you're going to have to accept that you might see or introduce some level of scratching or marring onto your car paint. Also, the color of the car will be a big determinant. For example, this is white. White naturally conceals and hides most paint blemishes as compared to dark colored or black colored cars. So if you have a dark colored car, you're going to be able to see the marring more clearly than you will on my white car. So if that's the case, when you're applying the car wax or the paint sealant, you just rub harder and more aggressively, and in most cases it will remove that or diminish it down to an acceptable level so that when you stand back, you go, wow, my car looks good. And then you reach out and you feel it and you go, double wow, my paint feels awesome, and sign me up. And you are willing to accept those trade-offs. So that is my short little tutorial, but let me add a couple other additional points. I will be attaching this video to my specific page at one of my websites. You can always check the links below. There's always going to be links that will take you to my website, where I have spent hours upon hours writing, researching, putting in a written format to teach you guys this stuff. With that said, as I am reached out, because I'm so prolific on the internet in so many ways, I am reached out in many, many ways by many, many people, both guys and girls. And I'm asked sometimes the craziest of questions, which seems crazy to me, but as a beginner, it's not crazy to you because you often do not know enough to even ask the right questions. Or you may ask one of those, what we were taught in school, there's no such thing as a dumb question. Well, I basically agree with that because we all come to the table with different experience and different ways of perceiving the world. So let me just add some of the things about the clay bar. For example, how often do I need to do it? That's up to you. My simple rule is this: when you feel your car paint, does it feel silky smooth enough for your expectations? If it doesn't, then you need to bust out one of these. That could be as frequently as every 3 months. That could be as long as years before it happens, because literally not all pollution is created equal. Everyone's situation truly is unique. It will be a case by case. Only you can decide for you what is acceptable and what is not. So, also, people have said some crazy stuff like what the clay bar is meant for. It is literally just meant to decontaminate your car paint. I've had people say like, oh, I heard you need the clay bar in order to polish your paint. Well, unless you mean by polishing your paint that it's going to decontaminate it, then okay, yes, but the simple answer is no, it's not meant as a polishing tool. So that's not what it is. How often do you replace a clay bar? Once again, that's up to you. Here is a clay bar that is literally years old. And by years, I mean at a minimum 5 years old. I've used this clay bar on hundreds of cars. Now I know there's going to be a keyboard jockey out there that will look at this, and I'm going to pull it close. This is a clay bar produced by Clay Magic. It started out blue, as in very, very blue. Notice now that it looks like a grayish type of blue. Not so blue anymore. You know why? Because it's embedded with so much contaminants. But guess what? It's still effective. If I feel the surface of this and I feel the surface of that, I can't tell the difference. But yet, look how much dirt is in this, and this is essentially a brand new clay bar. So how often do you replace it? Well, that's up to you and your pocketbook. If you follow the manufacturer's leads, they will suggest like, oh, this clay bar will do 5 to 7 average sized vehicles with minimal amounts of paint contaminants. What do you do with that? Talk about ambiguous. So only you can decide when it's time to replace it. Also, people will talk about this. Oh Lord, I've dropped my clay bar. I therefore must throw it in the trash, because in dropping it onto the ground, what I have pulled off of the ground is some dirt. And now that dirt is in the clay bar. And heaven forbid that I now take this dirty clay bar and I rub it against my paint and scratch the crap out of my paint. Well, let me apply a voice of reason. Despite how tacky and sticky these clay bars are, because they are, which is also part of the reason you need some type of clay lube to use them with, is that you can actually inspect your clay bar. And ironically, when you drop the clay bar onto ground, and once again, not all ground is created equal. Not all ground will be equally dirty as other ground. For example, my garage floor is pretty clean. The street outside is pretty dirty. So if I drop this out in the street, I'm going to naturally pick up more dirt if I do in fact drop this. And I promise you that at least half of you that go about doing this, that you will accidentally drop this onto the ground. So if you follow the industry's lead, they will have you toss this in the trash because they will say, or strongly suggest or recommend that now you need to just throw it away, which me being the cynical guy that I am is like, oh, I get that strategy because basically at least at a minimum half the people in the world that use these are going to drop them on the ground. So if we all run out and buy a brand new clay bar and throw this immediately into the trash, well, guess who's buying more clay bars? See where I'm going with that? So the voice of reason is, ironically, when you pick it up, you will be surprised of how much dirt is not brought up with it. You will be able to inspect it and say, oh, I see a couple of actual little rocks that have stuck to the clay bar. Guess what I can do? I can pick them out. And then I can feel my clay bar and say, okay, I don't feel any dirt on it. It feels just as smooth as it did before. In fact, I can turn it over and it feels the same as it does over here. But that's only you can decide. So you decide for yourself, like, okay, I think it's acceptable. I can pick it out. I can examine it. I can actually stretch it and reveal more so possibly any dirt particles that came up into that equation. And you can quickly assess that, you know what, I don't need to throw it away. It's good to go. Or you could try this. You could actually take a razor blade and shave off the top of it if you really wanted to. Or you could, wait for it, remove any obvious dirt particles. And then if you want to really work your way down that wormhole and say, oh, Darren, there's microscopic dirt that stuck to that clay bar and now you're going to use it on your car paint. Well, guess what? The simple act of using it, if you accept that it's pulling, shearing off, removing the paint contaminants, which is a form of dirt, and the instructions say that you simply knead, fold over, bend, morph, whatever you want to call it, and work that in so that you get a cleaner section of the clay bar to proceed around your car as you clay bar your car, then guess what? It's naturally going to collect some dirt along the way anyways. So I could, therefore, make a compelling case as to that microscopic dirt that you pulled up off the ground is essentially the same type of dirt that you're pulling off of your car paint that you're instructed to just mold into the clay bar and continue to use. Are you literally just going to swipe it once? Oh, there's some dirt. Got to throw it away. I know it's absurd, but I like to use the absurd to illustrate a point. Okay, I think I've covered enough for this video. I'm going to make some additional videos to clarify more talking points about the clay bar, what it is, what it isn't, how you use it, how you don't. With that said, leave me a comment below. I want to know, because in my experience as a professional detailer that I've been out there sweating my butt off for the past 30 plus years making a living at this, is I am still amazed at how many people have come to the wrong conclusion as to what a clay bar is, or have never even heard about the clay bar. So I would like you to do your best to answer one of those two questions. One, have you heard of the clay bar, and how did you actually hear about it? Or secondly, what conclusions have you come to that perhaps I've clarified for you in this video as to what it is versus what it is not? Leave those comments below. By all means, subscribe so that you can see my upcoming videos where I talk about more stuff detailing related. With that said, I will leave you, and I will see you on the next video.